Hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Darktable. For this episode I have prepared a few more examples to be able to repeat those techniques that we have learned in the last 4 episodes. First 2 about dealing with contrasts and second 2 about dealing with colors. And let's get started. This is our first photo for today. And to be able to see what should we do, let's make some adjustments first, some corrections, lens corrections, chromatic aberrations, and tiny bit of exposure so that we clearly can see. And as you can see, we are dealing here with some hazy scene, which is this photo was made quite early in the morning. And color-wise, we have here in the sky a little bit of bluish touch, those clouds, and here on the ground we have green, combination of green and orange tones, green in the grass and orange also in the grass, but also in the road. And in this part of the sky here we have also tiny bit of orange yellowish color, and these are the areas which need to be addressed to be able to improve the color and contrasts of this photo. So let's see what should we do first. So we have already added a little bit of exposure. I will add tiny bit more and use tone equalizer to bring back a little bit of the sky, just tiny bit, so that we have equalized a little bit the ground and the sky. And the next step will be to use color balance to add some colors. Vibrance, for example, global chroma a little bit, and perceptual saturation only in shadows and midtones, and remove a little bit in highlights, and also enhance that by adding brilliance in the highlights and remove it globally so that we have a nice contrast there. Maybe I should also use highlight gain and power function, highlight and power luminance sliders, to get even more of the contrast. And I think we are finished with color balance. Now we will add a little bit local contrast. Okay, and let's see what is the next step. Now we have made our first adjustments, and let's improve the colors a little bit. So we'll use color calibration first. Maybe see what our color calibration modules tells us about white balancing. Okay, it's okay, it's a bit warmer. I will leave it there. Now I will use a second instance of color calibration and play a little bit with channel mixer. For example, I would like to add a little bit more blue in the skies. In the sky, that means I will use input blue to remove that red from the sky. Maybe also a tiny bit of input green, but add that red back with input red slider. I'm not sure, maybe something like that. And I will add a little bit more of yellow by using blue channel and remove now tiny bit of blue by using input red and adding it back with input blue. something like that. Now we have somehow a little bit colder version of our photo, which I think it's nice because it was morning and we have a little bit of warm light, but not so much. So let's see what is the next step. Now I will use another instance of color calibration module, and I would like to improve sky a little bit. I would like to darken it a bit by using a brightness option in color calibration module. So I will darken that blue channel and compensate that by adding brightness on the red channel. Maybe something like that. As you can see, we have now more details in the sky. And let's see what will be the next step. Now we will try to improve the depth of the photo by adding some illuminance on this part here. Some illumination. And we will use another exposure module instance with drone mask. Something like that. Feathering radius. And add some exposure. So that we have that part nicely illuminated. So that we have that feel that on that part we have much more light from the sky, and we will also give that part a bit a warmer color by using next instance of the color balance 4 ways tab, and we will add tiny bit of chroma to the shadows, that reddish part, and also a bit with power function, which means midtones, but not on every part of the photo, but only on that illuminated part, something like that. Let's see. And maybe a tiny bit of yellow by highlights. Just tiny bit. Okay, let's see before and after. Now we have a little more colors in foreground here. And let's see what is the next step. So let's give our photo a bit more contrast. For that we can use another instance of tone equalizer. This time I will go above color balance, second color balance, so that we can add that contrast after other modules that we have used. Okay, let's improve the masking. Oh, we don't need to improve masking, we can just use some presets, something like that, soft one. Go back a tiny bit, so that you can see before and after. We have now even more contrast there. And maybe I would like to darken tiny bit the sky even more with another exposure instance. So let's do that. We will move it also above tone equalizer this time, and used just a gradient mask. We don't need to do too much, just a tiny bit less, so that we have that middle part better illuminated. And I think that is a nice contrast in the sky. And let's see what should we do next. Now I would like to address that haziness in the middle, and I would like to enhance it, not to remove it. And for that we have option to use soften module, but I would like to demonstrate one new module which will be in the next version of the Darktable, just for demonstration. It's called Diffuse and Sharpen. I will activate that module and go above the last step, above exposure, and I will add some haziness. The nice thing about this module is that you can add sharpness if you want, if you wish. Just a quick demonstration, as you can see. Or let's turn it off. Or opposite, you can diffuse your photo. I will use something like that. I don't want to talk about how to use this module. This is just a small demonstration, that's all. I'll add one iteration more, radius, something like that, and use drone mask, because I want that haziness only here, and also opacity, so that we don't have too much haziness there, because it gives the photo, yeah, some nice touch. As I said, you can also do soften module for that. Let's demonstrate that real quick. Something like that. Maybe not too much mix. And you have the similar effect. But we don't want to use it. We will use diffuse and sharpen. It's much better than soften. But it will be in the next version of the Darktable. So let's see what is the next step. Okay, as a last step, I will use one more color balance instance for adding a little bit more contrast and saturation. I will go above other modules that I have used before and just add a bit of global chroma, shadows and midtones by saturation, because we can add also a bit of contrast there, remove saturation from highlights, and improve also this contrast by using brilliant sliders. Maybe also tiny bit of highlights gain and power, just to add a bit more of the contrast there. Okay, let's improve our masks. Okay, nothing special. So before and after. And maybe one more instance of exposure to darken just a bit of this part of the sky. Nothing special. Really just tiny bit. Okay, I think we are done here. Just to give that part a little bit more details, and we are done. So let's see before and after. I don't know. Let's go to the color calibration first instance. Take a snapshot. Go to color calibration. Activate it, and last step. And as you can see, it's a quite nice improvement. So let's take another example. On this particular photo, I like the composition. We have here a small road in the valley, which is framed through the forest on both sides. So it looks some kind cinematic for me. And I will first add some crop to this photo. So let's do this first. I give it that filmic, not filmic, but that movie cut. Something like that. And that this crop enhanced a little bit that depth of the scene. And let's see what should we do with this one. Okay, first let's add some corrections here. It's quite underexposed, so let's give it also a bit exposure and analyze it a bit. Okay. Oh, as I said before, it's nice composition, but how it looks color-wise. So we have here that gray road, and this road is also framed by quite subtle colors on the grass and the leaves, and we will try to enhance these colors so that we have that nice contrast between that colors on the valley and that road with those three persons. So let's do that. We will start now with white balance. So go to the color calibration and see how the balances look like. Maybe I will use that road for white balancing. Yeah, now we already get a bit warmer look. Now I will use a next instance of color calibration to adjust a bit brightness. So as I said before, I would like to have that framing with those areas here. So I will darken the blue, which is mostly on the road, and lighten a bit red so that we have that distinction. Maybe even a bit more of green. Let's see. No, let's leave the green like that. Now we'll go to the color balance RGB module to deal with the colors so you can see what is happening. I will add global chroma a little bit, maybe shadows, midtones, and remove color from the highlights as always. Let's see, maybe also highlights gain here, use highlights gain and power function so that we have that contrast there. Okay, let's see what should we do with the colors. So let's see how can we improve our photo even more with the colors. And let's analyze the colors a little bit. We have two main color areas. That is this orange yellowish grass and colors of the leaves and the trees, that red one, and the other is greens. So let's separate them a bit with color balance instances. So let's try first to deal with the greens. We will use parametric mask. Let's see what kind of green is that, so we can use that. The bit of contrast and feathering. And I would like to separate it by giving those greens a little bit color. So I will use shadow lift option to give it a bit bluish tone. Maybe also in, I don't know, maybe also in, oh no, that's too much. Let's see which color should be nice. Maybe something like that. Not too much, just tiny bit more that we have the separation. Let's see how it looks like with the masking bit. And I don't know, maybe just tiny bit contrast, extra for greens. I think it's too much green here now. Let's go back with our chroma on shadows. I think we're good here. So let's do the same with reds. Before I do that, I would like to rename them so that I know which color balance is for which colors. Now we will do the same procedure to the red, and maybe I will separate reds and yellows also. Let's do that. So we need reds first. So let's choose them. Okay, maybe a tiny bit more here. Feathering and contrast. Let's see, yeah. Enhance those reds. I don't know. Let's give them some art of transition. Let's add the chroma to the shadows, and maybe this one, this yellowish on the highlights. I don't know, midtones, we don't need to touch the midtones. Let's improve the masks before and after. Yeah, it's a bit better, but we need a bit more darkening here, so that we have that nice transition. And let's rename it now reds, and go one more for yellows. So similar like before, we will choose now the yellow colors here, yellow oranges. Maybe go even more here. Let's see. Yes, that's nice. So feathering and tiny bit of contrast in the masks. And let's improve them. I don't know, maybe we start with the orange in the darker areas and go to the yellows in the highlights. The same procedure as before, but this time I would like to give those yellows and oranges a tiny bit more lightness. So let's do that with highlights gain. I don't know, power, maybe just a little bit power back so that we have that contrast. So let's see before and after. Yes, this is how I like it. Okay, let's see what is the next step. Now I would like to add some soft contrast. We could use low pass for that, but I will use this time diffuse or sharpen just for demonstration. And you can also use low pass or blue module. I will demonstrate that later. But let's first use diffuse or sharpen for that. So I will move that module above every other module that I used before, because I would like to add it at the end of the pixel pipe, before filming of course. And Diffuse or Sharpen had already one nice preset, bloom preset, that I would like to enhance even more. So I will add here the radius, more iterations, and even central radius, so that we have something like that. And now when we multiply that with multiply blend mode, we have that nice glowing effect, as you can see. So we are increasing our soft contrast, but also some kind of glowy effect of the grass, which I like, as you can see before and after. Now you can do that also with, let's disable it for a moment. You can do that also with bloom module. You can move the size of the bloom threshold back and strength a bit higher, and of course use use multiply blend mode for that, and you have quite similar effect. But the problem with bloom is that you need to be careful, because it is a part of display refresh workflow and comes after filmic. So it could be that you can have some artifacts, but normally it works also very good, since you don't have Diffuse or Sharpen module, which works in scene referred workflow, and you don't have any problems by multiplying it. Okay, I will yet disable bloom module and enable Diffuse or Sharpen, so we have that similar effect. And now what I would like to do also is to brighten a bit this part here. So let's do that quick, so that we have a nice balance between those areas. So I will go with the next exposure instance and mask real quick with drone mask, with drone mask this part here, nothing special, and just add a tiny bit of exposure there. So maybe feathering radius. And the last step should be to give this area here a bit more depth. So I will use one more exposure module with drone mask and add practically a vignette there. So this is how the mask look like. So we will toggle that mask so that we're influencing other areas. And now we will be darken a bit the rest, so that we have that main point in the middle, viewpoint. Maybe just a bit more feathering. And I don't know, I think we are finished. Maybe, just maybe, I will use one more color balance instance to give the overall picture just tiny bit colder look, not too much. So I will use 4-way stub this time, global offset, and give just tiny bit of chroma there, some bluish. Let's see how far. Just a tiny bit, so that we have nice transition between warm and cold part of the photo, so that the photo doesn't look overall so reddish. So I will say this should be enough. Yeah, Okay, let's see how it looks before and after. So we are going back to our exposure here, taking a snapshot, go to the last instance, last step, activated snapshot, and look at that. That is a quite difference. As you can see, we have nice colors that transition between those colder and warmer colors, and now we have also those colors, those bright colors are framing quite nicely our three persons here, and I'm quite satisfied with this one. Okay, let's try next one. This one is also one of those early morning hazy shots, which looks quite depressing without much colors. Let's see how we can improve that. First, by make some corrections, maybe chromatic aberration. I will also crop it. Maybe give it this time 16:9 crop. Yes, something like that. And now we are going with exposure quite high to see what should be done. Now, similar to the last two photos, we need to improve colors here. It is also one of these early morning scenes without too much colors. And we need to improve contrasts and colors also, so we'll start with contrasts. I will add just one preset for the contrasts in tone equalizer, and go to the color calibration. Use a new instance of color calibration to improve a little bit of colors. So I'll add a bit of red here, just tiny bit, maybe remove tiny bit of this one blue. Let's see, something like that, and go to the blue channel and remove a little bit of red there, input red, and now we have some yellowish look that can be improved even more by using color balance 4 ways, or master first to give it some intensity, color intensity, like before, and even a bit more contrast, something like that. And I would like to improve also that color of the fog, so I will bring some warm colors there by using, let's see, maybe something like that. Go to the masks to improve it even more. Maybe not too much. Let's go back with those two sliders. Yeah, I think that looks nice. But we will also use one more instance of color balance, because I don't want to have that orangey also on the ground. I would like just tiny bit colder colors here, so we will mask only that road here, just real quick with that mask, and go add some chroma, blue in the global offset, and chroma in the shadows, and maybe tiny bit in midtones, not too much. Midtones doesn't need to be influenced too much. So we have there orangey and bluish road. It's just tiny difference between those two parts, and we have this nice distinction between the road and the sky. Now I would like to add some local contrast there. Maybe even more, but protect shadows and highlights. And I don't know, maybe we will also add that vignette in the mid part, just to move our eye to the mid part of the scene. So I don't know, maybe just add tiny bit exposure, maybe something like that, feathering a bit higher, and here also. So let's see before and after. Yeah, it looks better. And as last step, I would like to bring that highlights back here. We'll use the next instance of the tone equalizer, just real quick. We don't need to do too much. And we don't want to influence the whole photo, but only that part here. So let's add a mask there. Just a quick something like that. Yeah, that will be enough. Bring that highlights back. Maybe one more instance. Let's go duplicate, just duplicate that instance, and maybe we are done with that. No, one more, okay. So let's let bring that back even more. Okay, now now we are done here. So we have improved our photo. So let's see before and after. Go to the tone equalizer or color calibration. Take a snapshot. Go to the snapshot activated and go to the last step. And as you can see, we have improved our photo quite a bit color-wise. Okay. And as you saw, we were dealing with very low contrast and desaturated photos here in this episode. And we improved them, but not necessarily in a realistic way. By following the techniques that are more commonly known from the art of painting, we have given them a new life. In the next episode, we will look at other photos and see how can improve them. Until then, thank you for watching and bye bye.